Okay, welcome back. This is Tech Top episode 107, Open Mic with Dale and Keith, recorded on October 20th, 2017. I decided that I'd see if I can get some old friends back online with me, and so we can have kind of a catch up on things, stuff like that. So let me go ahead and bring them in right now. Hang tight here if I remember how to do this. Hi, Dale. Hi, Keith. How you guys doing?
Doing great.
All right.
Doing well. I resemble that remark about old friends, though.
Well, we are old friends. So, anyway, well, I'm glad you guys are able. It's been quite a long time since we used to be on the air a lot together, and it's been a while. I know individually we've been on each other's thing, but not collectively here for quite a while here. So. Quite an honor to have you guys back on my show, at least. So, anyway, we were thinking about what we could talk about, and all of a sudden we started going off about two different directions here. So, let me do a quick recap on the previous show. The Dale, you and I are actually episode number 106. Where do I get my news from? And we talked about. How news or mainstream media is a little bit behind on getting, updated news and news on a timely manner or accurate news, and how you and I and a lot of people kind of diversify where we're getting our news from. So, you folks out there want to learn more about that, go back to episode 106. And while we're at it, let me cover a few things here. Got a few announcements. Keith just walked away, by the way.
He was so mesmerized.
He was so mesmerized by that announcement. So, anyway, thanks, folks. Thanks for listening and watching my podcast show and my YouTube channel stuff. Very much appreciate it. If you're listening on iTunes or Android Podcast Directory, or if you're watching on YouTube, or you found us on Facebook, please do a big favor, rate my show, submit a review, subscribe to my channel, leave a comment, some kudos, questions. Do everything you can. I greatly appreciate that. It helps my audience grow. If you need to find me or the YouTube channel or the podcast show or the Facebook page, quick thing to do is just go to primeconcepts.net. That's PRIMECONCEPTS.net. You'll find the links to the podcast show, YouTube channel, Facebook page, all that good stuff there. Plus lots of free stuff on there. Got lots of free tutorials on business-related internet topics. And my favorite one is free and almost free ways to advertise your business online. So please pass the word, share the episode, and tell others about the podcast show and the YouTube channel. Quick legal disclaimer. Products mentioned in this other episode of Tech Talk with Dan Harley could be paid as affiliate commissions, promotion commissions, or the liking by the product or service provider. In other words, I might try to sell you something. And while we're doing that, I want you to pay attention to Carbonite, which is one of my sponsors of the show. If you don't back your computer on important data on a regular basis, you could risk losing it in a split second. And trust me, that's happened to me a few times. And so you can have your accounting files, your personal documents, your family pictures, and other important files just lost in a split second. That's how fast it can happen. That's why I say you need something like Carbonite. And Carbonite is a cloud backup service. It's renowned for being very, very easy to use. Very easy to install, very easy to use. No technical skills needed. You can back everything on your computer automatically. It has high-quality encryption for those you are concerned about HIPAA compliance or legal issues. No worries, no hassle, very affordable. Less than 20 cents a day to back up and protect your computer. Because Carbonite is sponsoring this show, we have a free offer. You can try free Carbonite free for 15 days. Let me flip that thing up there so you can see the link. So you can't really see it because you've got it covered there. But anyway, you go to primeconcepts.net/link/Carbonite. You get a free trial, 15-day free trial Carbonite, and try it out for yourself. So anyway, since that's not working, the link is covered by Keith and Dale. Anyway, also another thing here too, if you having problems with your business and you think you're spending too much time on a website, too much money on a website, too much money in advertising, not getting anywhere with it, give me a call and I'll try to help you out. Initial consultation is free. You can schedule a consultation at 760-247-4814 or find me at primeconcepts.net. All right, anyway, back to the announcement. Let's get to the show. Keith and Dale, welcome back. It's been quite a long time here. And as we're talking about, kind of having kind of open mic, kind of catching up on things, and maybe some talk to techie stuff. I'm pretty sure with our history, we're definitely going to find things to talk about, and we'll probably go on and on in different in different directions, and somewhere at the end we'll come together here. So, anyway, so how you guys been?
Well, thanks for having me on the show, and goodbye.
See you later. So.
Yeah, I've always wanted to say that. All the best comedians start that way.
Yeah. Hey, well, I see you still got that reel-to-reel in behind you there.
The cutting edge of technology.
That's my Akai 747 DBX. It was the last one that was available in Europe. They were handmade, and that was the last one that was ever made or available in Europe. At the end of an era when they stopped making those kind of things and started making them by machine, or they don't make them anymore. Yeah. But they started making equipment by machine after that one was made.
Yeah, my family used to have a TV repair shop. I had probably about 3 or 4 reel-to-reels. I had one great big Sony one I had for a long time. It was pretty impressive. And
yeah, that place.
Yeah.
And what?
I had a Sony Craig. What else? I had another. I think a Panasonic. Had a one of each kind of. And cool thing about reel to reel is it's kind of you get dubbing and editing, audio dubbing editing. You know that's you literally go down and literally physically take the tape out and you got your tape. I had a tape slicer too and all that, so I'd be able to splice up my own tapes. And so you learn the good old fashioned way where you cut and splice. It's not a button. You literally cut and splice your tape.
Yeah, that thing's got automatic reverse on it. You have to put a piece of metal foil tape on the end of the reel so that it detects the metal when it gets to the end of the spool. Then it stops. And then it reverses.
That. I used to have a little case of those.
I doubt whether you could buy that stuff anymore. So that would mean if I was to buy a new reel for that now, it wouldn't do the automatic reverse because you'd probably have to stick a piece of Baco foil on the end or something with some glue.
How long do those things go? A couple hours, right? I forget what the length of those things were.
One of those tapes will run for 6 hours.
6 hours, okay, that's right.
On the lowest speed, and so if I really went to town, I could play 12 hours of music on it. If I play on mono, but stereo, it's 6 hours, front to back. So each side is I suppose 3 hours, but front to back. Both directions is 6 hours, and marvelous machine it is. I always lift it. It takes 2 people to lift it, but I've always had to manage to lift it on my own. It breaks my back.
Yeah, that's right. I remember mine was probably twice the height of yours, or a little bit taller. It was a monster. It was. It had its own little wheelie case, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So.
I've got the original packaging as well. I've seen those on sale in some places for $7,000 now. It cost me, English money, it cost me nearly £800 back in 1984. That's the equivalent of sort of £10,000 these days.
Yeah. Well, you know that you can't. They don't make them anymore. it's literally antiques.
They don't. Yeah,
so.
It is an antique, and it's in immaculate condition. I've always looked after it. Fabulous machine it is. Looks better when it's all illuminated with the power on.
Yeah, I'm thinking that when you do your show, you should just turn that thing on and just let it run in the background there.
Yeah. If you buy a tape for that now, I think the tapes cost something like £50 now. They're very hard to come by.
You can't get them anymore. You got to go on eBay or something, or what?
I've no idea. I've not tried to buy one.
You still use it?
Well, actually, I don't, because the magnetic material on the tape comes off, because over time the tape is subject to the atmosphere and it becomes damp. And if I was to play that tape that's on there now, the magnetic material will come off, and you have to bake the tapes you have to put it through a special process to try and restore the tape. And that tape that's on there now is an original recording of Martin Luther King's son doing a speech in my local church. So that's rather valuable, that recording that's on there now, which is why I don't play it, because I don't want to damage it.
So you got to remember what it sounds like, and if you want to really play, you got to one shot at it, huh?
Well, you wouldn't be able to play it, because the magnetic material just gets stripped off by the head, and it just wouldn't play. So I would have to send it to a specialist who could salvage it somehow. You'd have to put it into an oven, a specially temperature controlled oven. They do. Some people say that you can put it into an ordinary oven and watch it carefully, but you probably, if you weren't careful, you'd end up with a molten mass. And so I can't actually. I've got loads of tapes, and I can't actually play any of them, because I used to live in an apartment that was very damp. The one that I have now is very dry, but the damage has been done in my old apartment, unfortunately. So I can't actually play any of the tapes that I have, which is a real shame, because they've got some great music on them. But if I was to send them away to a specialist, they might be able to restore them. It would cost an awful lot of money to do it, I suspect. Which is a real shame.
Yeah, I was using my reel-to-reel to record my phonograph stuff.
Yeah.
And I had my own mixer board and everything, so basically I had my own mini studio. So, and a lot of it came from my customers not picking up their stuff. And
I've toyed with the idea of going old school, and I'm waiting until next summer when we don't get many hot days here, but I've toyed with the idea of just putting them in the boxes and putting them in the sunshine for a couple of hours, because that might be potentially might just do it to get all the moisture out. And I'm wondering whether that might be worth trying, because at the moment I just can't use the tapes, and that might be a worthwhile experiment.
If you're
and
saying
it might be safer than putting it in a cooker.
Yeah, if you're saying you're essentially going to erase the tape, because when you play it once, it's basically it's not usable except to look at it. So.
Yeah. But it would be nice to be able to play that tape with Martin Luther King's son on it, because he sounds just like his father. You wouldn't know it wasn't him.
Interesting. Well, maybe we can find a blank tape, and now it does record, correct?
The machine still works.
Okay.
The problem is the tape, because the magnetic material comes. What people don't realise about magnetic material is that it degrades.
Yeah. Well, be careful with it.
It's not so bad with cassettes.
Maybe after the show here, we'll go dig around Google some places that might be able to specialists with reel-to-reel tapes and see what we can do. So. Yes.
It's not so bad with cassettes, because the magnetic material on cassettes are rubbish compared to those tapes. And the magnetic material on there is really high density, so it's very fragile. With cassettes, it's just very thin, and it doesn't absorb the moisture in the same way.
It's not the same, and
it's totally different material.
And if you look at, they had the reel-to-reels are much larger than the cassette tapes, so you have a lot more surface area to do recordings on. So that's why it was much better. But then you can't really stick a reel-to-reel inside your '57 Chevy and go down the road with it. So
no.
So Dale, you haven't said anything. Are you just back?
I don't have anything really to add about reel-to-reels. That's kind of outside my specialty. So all I would mention is that Keith looks like a George Carlin.
Who's George Carlin? He's a comedian, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's a comedian. Yeah, I'd have to pull up a picture and show it to you, Keith. You can Google it when we're done.
Is he giving me a compliment or is it an insult, Dan?
That's a compliment, I think.
Mm-hmm.
It's just descriptive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Shall I tell a few jokes?
Well, I think you've already triggered that. So it's that's all I have to contribute. So you can tell why I was not saying anything, because that's the best I could do.
I see.
Hey, while we're at it, now, Keith, you're still on the air with Dr. Rouge and some other places too, right?
On the air with who?
Are you still doing podcasts and all this stuff with Dr.
Ev?
Dr. Ev, or no, Dr.
No, I'm not.
Are you still doing anything on Blog Talk Radio?
No.
Okay.
I've not opened up my Blog Talk Radio for a long time.
Okay. Do you use Wowee?
Is that still there even?
I don't know.
They shut down.
Okay.
My control panel hasn't worked for over 2 years. So.
All right. Well, I'm sure that when it was all working, your reel-to-reel was operational too.
probably at the same
It works
time.
great as a paperweight.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I just remembered one of the things that George Carlin used to say. He used to say, just because you got the monkey off your back doesn't mean the circus has left town.
Not my circus and not my monkeys. It sounds like you are familiar with George Carlin.
No, I just read it off the screen here.
Ah, well, he has, one of my favorites about George Carlin's is stuff. He said, you got too much stuff, you got to get a bigger house. You got too big a house, you got to get more stuff.
Yeah.
You go to pack for a vacation.
Yeah.
Pack your stuff. Go on a side trip. Only the best stuff.
Yeah.
Houses are just stuff with lids on it, man.
Yeah. And he said he had something to say about religion. He said atheism is a non-profit organization.
He had some good quotes.
Mm-hmm. I'm not convinced you understood that one, but never mind.
I heard that. Ironically, I read about something about George Carlin like yesterday, day before. He was instrumental in shaping the censorship rules in the 70s, which in turn brought the comedy onto TV, such as Saturday Night Live, Saturday Night Live, and all that.
He does I forget the 20 words you can't say. Something like that.
Yeah, and part of that was how the censor people over here kind of made the rules where you can or cannot say on public TV.
Mm. Yeah, he was he was a comedian with lasting power. So I think somebody just unplugged their.
Keith is going to turn on the reel-to-reel. Here we go.
Okay. I have a dream today.
Oh, he just turned off his light.
What I remember about Keith is he would put on lots of crazy hats during our Wowee discussions. So I'm kind of having George Carlin with a hat flashbacks.
Is it working?
Well, I turned it on.
I was seeing that. Any lights turning on or off?
But you can't see it. I turned it on, the lights are on, but you can't see them. It's too dim for the camera to pick it up. Oh well. No, you can't see it.
Oh,
the lights are on, but it's too dim for you to see it. That's the first time the power's been turned on in 8 years.
Wow. Well, I see some lights on over there.
Step away from the reel to reel.
So yeah.
That was a bit of a non-event, wasn't it? Because you can't see all the lights that are on it. Oh well, I tried.
Well, yeah. Well, you can push play, but unfortunately, if you don't run your tape through the machine, you only got one side that runs.
I would hate to be responsible for destroying Martin Luther King's son's timeless speech.
So we're not suggesting you do that. I'm just saying if you
Yes.
did.
Yeah, there's our disclaimer.
So, there's our disclaimer. So anyway.
Yes.
Something goes wrong with it, blame Dan.
Yeah.
What were you saying when I walked over there? You were saying that I'd unplugged my headphones or something.
Oh, I was hearing an echo effect.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Just temporarily.
Sorry about that.
It's okay.
And it's gone.
All right, well,
now.
Dan, I went on a 4-mile walk yesterday, and I had a friend who was telling me about different iTunes problems, syncing songs, and just regurgitated. I think he was a bit concerned that it was a conspiracy theory to make his life difficult. But I kind of summarized it in a way as I told him he had really a few choices as I saw it. One choice was to completely live off the grid and just forget about doing these things. The second one was to learn it, to man up and Google it. And he was frustrated by how many Google searches he gets that aren't relevant. And I said, that's just the nature of the beast. You have to look through, you need to expect to look through 5 to 7 things before you find something that's relevant. The third was to outsource it to some 13 or 14-year-old that's good at that kind of thing, that you could get it for a reasonable price. I told him about Fiverr, and the fourth option would be to go to the Apple store and make an appointment with the Geek Squad. So I think a lot of what you and I have dealt with over the years with a lot of our Tech Talk and Technology Tuesday was just different things that we experienced. And I think the ordinary person probably finds it difficult to because it feels like you need a master's degree in IT to manage all of the different technological challenges. But I think that 80 to 90% of it is just going for it.
Yeah, I would.
Yes.
You're about right there too, and there's some parts of the technology you really need to kind of know what you're doing as well. But for consumer electronics, you're gonna give it to Steve Jobs. He set the precedent. If you got to make it simple to use, otherwise it's not going to be usable.
Yeah.
Keith, what do you want?
Is iTunes complex? It's only a music player, isn't it?
Well,
it is the heart and soul of Apple.
What happens with the invention of iCloud, there's a lot of things that can be done without iTunes. Frankly, the only reason I have to ever sync with my computer is because there's some old music that I didn't buy through Apple or iTunes that I want to get on my device. That's the only reason. And so kind of what I told him is don't ever try to always sync through the cloud before you get started. Make sure you have the latest software. Don't mess with that on your computer. I've
got loads of music on my computer. None of it's been bought from Apple, so I wouldn't want to install iTunes, then would I? Because it'll really mess up my music collection on my computer, won't it?
You could install it. It's the only way you could put it from your computer onto your small handheld device would be to use iTunes.
Small handheld Apple device.
Small handheld Apple device.
Yeah. See, Steve Jobs, when he put together the iPhone, well, it's after the fact now. iTunes and the cloud, that environment, it's more than just simply an iPhone or simply a Mac or simply whatever. It's that whole environment that you're bought into, and iTunes is part of it. So just as Google has the Android Play whatever kind of the same thing, or Google's apps. So
I would say it was the heart of it, and it's moved away from it with the cloud. And they make it difficult to do anything that's outside the iOS umbrella, probably purposefully.
Yeah,
They'd like for you to buy everything and want to be the hub of buying everything. So
that's why I stopped using it. Even before I stopped using iTunes before they invented the iPad, because it used to mess up my music collection. So I thought, I'm never going to use that again.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the choices that I presented to him.
Yeah.
It's not the choice that I make, but it's one of your choices.
It made a double copy of every record that I had. I couldn't work out why it was doing that, but it used to copy all of my record collection. I didn't know what was going on because I seemed to have 2 copies of everything all of a sudden.
Well, Steve Jobs used to advertise with the iTunes that you can load up all your music, no matter what it is, even if you bootlegged it, and your iTunes would find that song and get a better copy of it for you. And you can keep it, as long as you keep it in iTunes. So,
but when I installed iTunes on my computer, it found all of the tracks that I had on my computer, made another folder, and made another copy of them.
Oh yeah, I tell you, it's when iTunes becomes almost stock with these newer computers, because a lot of people have Apples, and it really gums up the system.
Yes.
It took, and it's not easy to get rid of. It's almost as bad as Norton Utilities, semantic stuff. And just the newer computer, just to get it off, not using it. Says no, I don't want to use iTunes. You sure don't want iTunes? I don't want to use iTunes. And then I have my little, my little software things that kind of peek behind everything, and iTunes still installed. So I have to physically uninstall it, and it's a real pain in the ass to uninstall it. And if you don't uninstall it, it sits there and starts slowly growing like a virus. So if you're not using it, it just slows your computer down for no reason. So,
I don't know what's wrong with you guys. I haven't had any problems at all with it.
Well, I'd say if you don't have it, if you don't have an Apple,
maybe you could call Dan Harley with Technology Tuesday, and he could help you that out.
Yeah, but why?
No,
why does it?
I actually think with the cloud, it kind of makes it so I don't need it. I don't need to worry about it. I mean, once maybe every couple years when I get a new device or I lose it or something, I have to worry about it. But other than that, I don't have to worry about using iTunes.
The beauty of the cloud or cloud computing in Google's version of it is something happens to your iPhone, whatever, you're not screwed. It's sort of like using Carbonite as a backup system. But I'll with the Android, I have all my contacts in Google. Google Play and all that stuff, whatever, and so every once in a while, every 2-3 months, I'll just reset my entire Android, my entire phone, just to get rid of all the gummy stuff, and then everything just loads right back in. I picked the software one back in there, and my contacts are already there and all that stuff, as if I started from essentially don't lose anything. So except for all the gummy apps that I don't want in there. So.
Here's something we talk about. Microsoft OneDrive. The OneDrive cloud that Microsoft have.
Yeah, that thing's a pain in the ass too.
They scammed me. They scammed me because years ago they gave me there was a special offer where they gave me 25 gigabytes of free space. So I thought that was great. So I took the 25 gigabytes of free space, like you do, and I filled it up with all my data, and then they suddenly, and I had that for years. All my data was in there. All my important data was in there because it was free. And then all of a sudden they wrote to me and they said, you're over your maximum allocated data because you can only have 5 gigabytes of data. And so we've locked up your data, and you have to pay for all of that data to get your data back. I thought, can I say, no, I mustn't swear over the air.
You can swear on the air. This is a podcast show. You can say fuck. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, you've said it for me. Thank you. But they gave me 25 gigabytes of free data for being a good customer. And I had that for 4 or 5 years. And all my data was in there, my valuable data that I didn't want to lose. And once I'd filled it up, 4 or 5 years later, they sent me an email saying, you're over your maximum data of 5 gigabytes. So send us some money and we'll let you have it back. Mm-hmm. Now don't think that's filthy, because that must mean they're holding millions of people to ransom. That's typical of Bill Gates, isn't it?
Well, a lot of companies do that. Because you get used to it. You really want to play with it here. You got to pay the piper. So
let's get him on the phone. Let's get his perspective.
Just jump on him. So
now, and I was listening to a video from him the other day. He was talking about the inoculations that he's doing over in Africa, and he was saying openly. And he was so excited about the inoculations because he was saying if he really gets the program going, he can cut world population by up to 15%. So he was actively promoting that he's doing the inoculations to cut world population by 15%. That was his agenda, and he's openly stating it. He's killing people.
Well, I think I recall the same thing. Well, here's something else here about Bill Gates. His dad is a Rotarian, and that's the reason why he got is really active in the Apollo program. And he's actually donated a lot to Rotary, as well as taking on the project himself. He's essentially taken the brand from Rotary. I mean, Rotary International has been working on eradicating polio since the 80s, and Bill Gates only been working on it for about 10 years or so, really. Not try to take anything away from him, but it's that this drive that was started with Rotary has now become Bill Gates's thing.
It's a eugenics program.
I'm part of the program that's trying to eradicate trying to reduce the population of Africa. I'm being sarcastic, but it's not really that way. What he really meant is when you increase get the population out of poverty, the people in that society tend to have fewer kids. Okay, and a good example here is if you look at America and Europe, we don't have 4, 5, 6 children. We have 1.3 or something like that. Whereas in the more impoverished areas, such as Africa, they have 4, 5, 6 children because they're going to lose a few before they become adults. So the inoculation, eradicating, diseases through water, starvation, all that stuff is to improve society to the point that they're not going to be poor anymore. So that is his goal and objective. So if that makes any sense. You guys there?
Do you really believe that, Dan?
Well, I believe it from my perspective. I don't know. Maybe Bill's got it. I'm not Bill Gates. Maybe he does have it. He is the Miss Dr. Evil, and has his lair somewhere.
I believe he is. Do you know he started his life as a career criminal, don't you? He started with his first product was the Blue Box, which is a keypad for stealing phone calls and hacking IBM's computers.
Wrong guy.
He
That's actually Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak.
But Bill Gates was doing it as well. They
was
both did it.
He was a software guy. He developed the original OS for IBM PCs. But Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak, they're the ones that got involved with what's called, I forgot the guy's name. I know him as Captain Crunch. And
yes,
he was making the
and the PCs were developed out of that because people wanted ever more complex systems.
Well, the PC was
because they had a computer club that developed out of it.
Yeah, well, the Altair, which that's probably where the two of them came in commonality with. That was the first personal computer. It was a computer kit where you were sent a box full of parts, and you in a circuit board, and you soldered it all together, and you create your own computer. That was actually before the Apple I, Apple II. And Wozniak and Gates created the Apple I and subsequently the Apple II, and actually hired Microsoft to build a lot of their stuff, including the original Mac operating system and platform. So the Macintosh, the one that used to be the tan toaster.
What year was that? Can you remember?
Oh,
It was in the 80s, wasn't it?
In the 80s, yeah.
Hmm.
I'm going to guess about 82, 84. And shortly after that, Jobs had a falling out with his board in Apple and left and sold his stock, and the rest is kind of history. So,
yeah, because I was into computers before that in the aircraft industry, because we had PCs before Bill Gates did, and we had the components for them, and we were asking, where does this stuff come from? And we were told it was on a need to know basis, and we didn't need to know, because we were building drones on Croydon Airfield, which Croydon Airfield was in my hometown here, Croydon, and Croydon Airfield was the forerunner of Heathrow Airport. Once Croydon Airfield got too small, it moved over to Heathrow. You heard of Heathrow Airport, have you?
I've never been to Heathrow.
I've been to Heathrow.
Yeah. Before Heathrow, we had Croydon Airport. And lot of the famous, I think the first Atlantic flight came from Heathrow, from Croydon Airport. And I used to I used to design flight control systems for drones. You've heard of drones, haven't you?
Absolutely.
I used to do that from Croydon Airfield, and I was a draftsman. And we did computerized systems for those drones from Croydon Airfield, and we used to fly them on the airfield. In the open, these were top secret systems, and we were flying them on the airfield in broad daylight under everybody's noses. And people thought that these were just model aircraft, that we were flying. These were military aircraft that we were flying with computers inside them, and these with microchip, computers in them, and this was high-tech stuff. And this stuff came out of Roswell and places like that. We didn't know that in those days. We were just saying, "What?" And can we have that swear word again, Dan, please?
You go ahead and cuss all you want.
Did you ever see the aliens in Roswell?
I've never been to Roswell, no. But we were saying, where did this stuff come from? This is...
It's the aliens. I'm not saying it's aliens, but it's aliens.
Well, we didn't say aliens in those days, because that was a word that hadn't been used that much in those days.
Yeah. So
yeah, you were on a need
we
to
were
know.
Saying it was a need to know basis, and we didn't need to know where it came from. And in those days, we were smart enough that we didn't talk about things like that, because we knew that things being more sensitive in those days, we knew that you could disappear very easily. So we didn't ask too many questions.
Yeah.
And in those days I was about I don't know, 1976 that would have been. I was 15 in 1970, and I saw my first. I saw a UFO when I was 18, and I didn't talk about it much because you could get locked up in those days if you started talking about UFOs. And I saw it with a witness, my girlfriend. We both saw it, and we didn't talk to anybody about it.
Hey Dan, I'm gonna need to go off.
Oh yeah, we need to get going
here
pretty soon too. But
we've been on air for about an hour and 10 minutes, haven't we?
We have not that long already. See, I told you we'd find something to talk about. Well, how about this? We'll save the UFO story for another time.
Sounds good. Maybe we have a special show on UFOs.
Okay.
Yeah, but that drink they gave me was really strong stuff.
Yeah, don't tell anybody about that. The reason you don't want to tell anybody is it's about the anal probes. You don't want that information to get out.
Did you get that as well? Did you?
Yeah. That's a big problem.
Hey, before we go, let's get
I didn't get the probe. I didn't get the probe.
Let's do a quick shameless plug between you guys. Dale, you want to talk about your website, stuff like that?
Is there life on Uranus? That's
life on Uranus. Yeah.
Sure. jackofalltraining.com if you want to check out the website. If you want to connect with me on Twitter @Dale Perryman. If you want to connect with me on Facebook, the jackofalltraining.com.
All right, Keith, your shameless plug. Where you hang out at online now?
We didn't tell them what I do for a living, did we?
No, we haven't. Now's your time.
No. Well, I do have my own radio show that goes out on Tuesdays. Come and listen next Tuesday to my radio show, which will be at 3:30 p.m. BST, which will be 10:30 a.m. EST, New York time, and that will be on rulerbrownnetwork.com, and I'll be interviewing the Tom Silver, who is a hypnotherapist who's done Discovery TV, where he created a Manchurian candidate who actually became an assassin and shot somebody on live TV.
Wow.
And he really believed that he was shooting and killing somebody who he believed was a bad guy.
You obviously get more exciting guests than I do.
Yeah. And I am a hypnotherapist myself, and you can find my website at hypnosensei.com, and you can find my Facebook page at facebook.com/hypnosensei, and I would be very happy to speak to you if you want to contact me. And my if you want to contact me by Skype, do specify you're interested in hypnosis. Otherwise, I won't connect with you, because I get a lot of people trying to connect with me who haven't got much to say on Skype. So my Skype is Keithanthony 0169. Keithanthony 0169. If you want to connect with me on Skype.
Awesome. Okay.
So there we have it.
All right. As for me, you guys can find me at primeconcepts.net, and this video is going to be on Prime Concepts YouTube channel very shortly here, and the podcast show will go out tomorrow. And guys, it is always a lot of fun having you guys on there. I should have done this a long time ago, and we're going to do more of it. By the way, I'm going to start doing these live Facebook broadcasts here probably next week or week after on a Friday. Basically a Tech Talk Friday, answer some questions out there in the public, and so I'll be announcing that fairly soon here. So anyway, that in mind, I'm going to wrap it up, guys. Thanks a lot for being on the show, and we'll have you back on sometime soon.
All right, good to see you, Keith.
Great. Right. Same here. Good to see you.
All right, guys.
Can I have a chat with you in a moment, Dan?
Sure. Let me clean this up, and we'll close this up and go. Okay, folks
right.
out there, we'll see you. That's it for this episode. Thanks for watching, listening. Good luck and Godspeed to your online success.
Thanks.